Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Maple Blooded Podcast. It seems that our Make-A-Wish Prime Minister is facing his first scandal while acting as the Prime Minister of Canada. On Friday, March 28th, CBC reported that GTA Liberal candidate apologizes for suggesting people claim China's bounty on Conservative. A Liberal candidate running for re-election in a battleground GTA riding is apologizing after suggesting people attempt to claim a Chinese bounty on a local Conservative candidate. That Liberal candidate is Paul Chiang, who is the current Member of Parliament for the Markham-Unionville riding. In January, while Paul Chiang was speaking to a local Chinese language media news conference, he told people they should claim the bounty on Conservative candidate Joe Tay, who is running in the Toronto riding of Don Valley North. Paul Chiang said, "To everyone here, you can claim the $1 million bounty if you bring him to Toronto's Chinese consulate." The bounty he was referring to was placed by Hong Kong police in December. The bounty he was referring to was put in place by the Hong Kong police to arrest Joe Tay. The bounty is currently worth about $184,000 Canadian. CBC continues, the warrants are largely seen as the Hong Kong government targeting vocal critics based abroad. At the time, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly denounced the bounty, saying, "This attempt by Hong Kong authorities to conduct transnational repression abroad, including by issuing threats, intimidation, or coercion against Canadians or those in Canada, will not be tolerated." Tay could not be reached for comment. However, he reposted a social media statement from fellow Conservative Michael Chiang, who called Chiang's comments outrageous. This expression of support for the illegal and unjust bounty on Canadian citizens is disturbing, particularly to the countless Canadians of Chinese descent who have been targeted and harassed by the communist regime. Now, considering what the Liberals have put Canada through in regards to foreign interference, it's quite interesting how they've dealt with this over the weekend. So far, the only Liberal that has commented on this is Paul Chiang himself. He released an X statement on Friday which said, "The comments I made were deplorable and a complete lapse of judgment on the seriousness of the matter. As a former police officer, I should have known better. I sincerely apologize and deeply regret my comments. I will always continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of Hong Kong in their fight to safeguard their human rights and freedoms." Just want to draw attention there for a second to his second sentence. As a former police officer, I should have known better. Now, there should be no doubt that this is the exact same Liberal government. And Mark Carney seems to have the exact same advisors that Justin Trudeau had. If you have been paying attention to politics in Canada for the past 4 years, Justin Trudeau's standard operating procedure whenever there was a scandal since 2021 was to disappear. I made comments on X before that it just seemed like Justin Trudeau was trying to get to the weekend. Whenever a new scandal broke, which was often, he would disappear. He would get on our plane and travel to the other side of the planet for whatever random conference was going on that week. For instance, a gender-affirming soapbox derby in Peru. And he would leave his cabinet to deal with the media and to deal with the opposition parties in question period. When they thought that the media had moved on and people had moved on, Justin Trudeau would return. And they did the same thing with Mark Carney this weekend. Mark Carney has not faced a single question from the media about this. Pierre Poilievre was asked about Paul Chiang's comments, and he had this to say.
I'm Terence Shen, independent journalist covering foreign policy and global affairs. Recently, Liberal MP Paul Chiang suggested that someone could hand over your party's candidate, Joe Tay, to China in exchange for a bounty from the communist regime. Many people saw that not only as a threat to Canadian citizens and political opponent, but also legitimizing foreign interference in our democracy. What's your response to his remarks? And after his apology, do you still believe he should be disqualified from running for office? Thank you.
Yes, he must be disqualified. I find it incredible that Mark Carney would allow someone to run for his party that called for a Canadian citizen to be handed over to a foreign government on a bounty, a foreign government that would almost certainly execute that Canadian citizen.
And of course, Pierre Poilievre is fired up. He's defending his Conservative candidate. But at the same time, he's outraged. And all Canadians should be outraged. This behavior is beyond deplorable. And Pierre Poilievre's acting like a statesman and filling the leadership void. Jagmeet Singh and the NDP were also asked about Paul Chiang's comments. But what you're going to see is interesting. Watch who fields the question.
From my perspective, the comments from the Liberal candidate, Paul Chiang, is absolutely astounding. He is a police officer, and he ought to know that when the CCP went out and put a bounty on anybody, including Canadians, that cannot be acceptable. That is intimidation at its worst. And yet, he played right into it. He advocated for people to bring him to the Chinese consulate to collect the bounty. In what universe is this normal?
Now, Jenny Kwang is a victim of foreign interference. We all know that. We've heard it. But that question should have been answered by Jagmeet Singh. Jagmeet Singh is the leader of the NDP. Jagmeet Singh is running for Prime Minister of Canada. Why didn't he field the question? I have thoughts, and I'll get to that in a second. Pay close attention to how Yves-François Blanchet responds to a question about Paul Chiang's comments. Look at the body language of his MPs that are around him.
Everybody has to come very transparent and clean and open about everything, but, you know, there's so many things that we do not know about so many candidates, which appear to be a problem. But there's so much we do not know about the Liberal leader, which is no better for democracy.
So I have a theory about this, and I posted it on my X account. I asked if anyone else found it interesting that the four party leaders who have read the NSI COP report and are sworn to secrecy have not aggressively condemned Liberal MP Paul Chiang for asking people to turn over his conservative opponent to the communist regime in China. Only Pierre Poilievre has demanded he be removed from the ballot. Are they all gagged? So yes, Jenny Kwang answered the question for Jagmeet Singh. And yes, Blanchet responded to a question, but he was very vague, and it looked like his MPs were nervous for him. Take from that what you will, but I think I'm on the right track. And by Sunday night, it appears that the Liberals believe they've run out the clock. The Toronto Star reported Liberal candidate Markham to stay on with party despite deplorable comments about former Conservative rival. Mark Carney's Liberals have chosen to retain their controversial candidate in Markham Unionville. And if that's not a big enough joke, listen to the rest of this sentence. And have decided not to let independent MP Han Dong rejoin the party to seek re-election in Don Valley North. Can you believe that this is our government? And despite the Liberal Party's best efforts to change the channel on this scandal, the media are not letting it go. Almost every single question that Mark Carney was asked today during a press conference about Sean Fraser's resurrected plan for Canadians to live in doghouses subsidized by the government of Canada was about Paul Chiang. Listen to this question from Judy Trin of CTV.
How can he be an effective representative for them when they no longer trust him after he said this? The question, as you know, Mr. Carney, you know that Canada has executed 4 Canadians this year.
China.
You know that there are human rights activists in China in detention right now. How can Mr. Chiang, how can your party keep him as a candidate knowing this context?
Mr. Chiang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment. He apologized for he's apologized for his comments. He's apologized directly to me. He's apologized directly to the individual. He has a long record of service. He's going to continue his candidacy.
I've never heard her this fired up before. It is almost as if the feeling of betrayal is creeping in. I don't think this scandal is going to go away, and I would be shocked if Paul Chiang is still the candidate by the weekend. The Conservatives should be reaching out to every single Canadian who has immigrated to Canada from China. They should be hearing loud and clear what the messaging from the Liberal Party is. The Liberal Party are condoning threats against Canadian citizens from the government of China. By ignoring this issue, they're only going to empower more of this behavior. And I hope voters are paying attention. Thank you for listening. Thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate all of you for subscribing to my channel. I see that I have 98 subscribers despite only having 1 video so far. I hope you like the content. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button. It will help my videos reach a bigger audience and will help my account grow. I really look forward to talking to you guys again. Have a good one.